Colorado has about 30 million acres of farmland, which is roughly 45% of the state's total land area. Due to various factors such as overproduction, cosmetic standards in the market, and food buying habits by households, roughly 35% of food grown in the US goes uneaten. And in a study from 2021 by the USDA, large-scale agriculture was found to be the cause of roughly 10.6% of US greenhouse gas emissions. Hello, thank you for listening to our video today. My name is Sam.
My name is Julia.
My name is Mariana.
My name is Josue.
And we are a group from Colorado State University. And in this video, we hope to present our research on sustainable agriculture and encourage you to gain your own knowledge and passion for the subject. Like you, we are students, and maybe like you, we are concerned about the climate and our communities. Statistics like the ones we just shared go to show how important this topic is for Colorado, as well as for the US as a whole. We understand that each one of us has a different relationship to the climate, to the land, and to practices like agriculture. But we do believe that there is a common ground for us to find.
Much of Colorado and much of the area in the United States that surrounds us consists of farm and agricultural land, as well as the people who work and manage that land. Some of you come from families of farmers and people who care about agriculture. We want to recognize these jobs and ways of living are important, while understanding agricultural practices could be reworked in a direction for climate mitigation and action, especially in communities like ours who live in these agricultural heavy areas here in Colorado and the vicinity. Change doesn't have to devalue these communities or uproot our ways of life, and we think change would be better for all of us.
We would also like to point out that climate change is not new. Changes in environmental patterns have been happening since the beginning of Earth's existence, but colonialism, capitalism, and industrialization have exacerbated these changes and have impacted many indigenous cultures and have risked their relation with the land and supported agricultural practices that can no longer be sustained today.
Once again, we can't offer a singular end-of-all solution, unfortunately. But as we students and future farmers, we are capable of moving in the right direction. Restructuring our ways of life is a lot of change and a tall task to ask, but we hope you can keep an open mind with the things we'd like to share.
When most of us think about today's agriculture systems, we picture machines, fertilizers, and huge fields containing just one species of crop. But before Western agriculture methodologies existed, indigenous communities across the world developed niche farming systems that worked in relation to the land they inhabited instead of working against it, and using the earth as a commodity or a resource instead of recognizing it as a reciprocal relationship and showing respect for that relationship. For thousands of years, indigenous farmers survived through droughts, floods, and all kinds of climate shifts and disruptions. They survived a variety of climate changes by using knowledge passed down through generations on patterns and behaviors of the land they are native to, not by dominating and exploiting ecosystems. I read a paper by Altamirano Jimenez and the Borders and Globalization Review, published in March 2024, that explains how they did it through their relationships with the soil, water, plants, and animals, and even with non-living beings like rivers and mountains. Recognizing the relationship we have to the land is how we begin to develop an understanding of the responsibilities we have to that land. This idea of being in relation with the land might feel quite different from the way agriculture is understood today, but it gives us the ability to farm in a way that doesn't just value the crops, but also respects and recognizes the land and our responsibility to it. Today, Western colonial agriculture is one of the biggest drivers of soil loss, pollution, and climate change. Monocropping destroys biodiversity, and the use of chemicals contaminates waterways and communities. And then on top of that, climate change makes the impacts even worse. But to our point, indigenous agriculture methods already contain the solutions we need on how to start addressing the impacts climate change has on farming. I read another research paper by Conrad et al. in the journal Scientific Reports published in August 2025 that highlights the need to implement more agroecological adaptation efforts, such as polyculture systems, agroforestry, and empowering indigenous land management. It is important to remember that these aren't just new farming techniques. They come from the traditional ecological knowledge systems that are built on a worldview of respect, reciprocity, and relationality to the land.
Modern agriculture science is finally catching up to something indigenous farmers have known for centuries. Healthy soil is the key of climate resilience. One study we read, a 2022 review in ACS Engineering AU by Casimir Skug and his team, looked at several emerging methods that can reduce greenhouse gas emissions while keeping farms productive. These include reduced tillage to protect soil carbon, cover crops to add organic matter, biochar to lock carbon into the soil, and mineral amendments like basalt rock dust that naturally absorb CO2. What stood out the most is that each method is linked to soil chemistry. Things like carbon stabilization, nitrogen cycling, and how much CO2 or nitrous oxide the soil releases. They also point out the trade-offs. Some practices cost more upfront or require new training, but they still show real potential for long-term climate benefits. Their biggest takeaway is that no single method is perfect. Decarbonizing agriculture takes a combination of good chemistry, good practices, and community support. And that's where young farmers come in, because we're the ones learning the science now, and we have the chance to bring these tools together to build more resilient farms for the future.
We understand that climate change and climate action is often something politically charged, and we encourage you to admit this between yourselves and your peers to find middle ground for a greater cause. Your existing values or the values of your family don't need to be overridden to care about the climate. Caring about the climate doesn't have to be a political issue, and we believe the sooner people are willing to accept this, the sooner we can all be more open to climate action. Climate action doesn't have to be physical, material acts or changes. Though we hope the structure of current agricultural systems can be changed, seeking out more information about what's at stake and what we can do is a step towards climate action in its own right. This action can begin in the classroom, with students like us. We know that if we approach climate with nuance, and with understanding that it's a socio-political issue beyond solely a scientific one, students can walk away with raised awareness and a better understanding of the issues. Those that are already concerned about the climate and those that are less climate conscious can both benefit. Offering a look at climate change in this way in a classroom setting can also offer underrepresented voices to learn and talk about climate change. This is more so something for your teachers and group leaders, so don't be afraid to get the ball rolling by asking them questions. Student involvement can start with complementing what you're learning in class with personal research and experience, and recognizing that there's much more to climate change as an issue than just the science.
Student involvement truly is an important factor for us reaching the goal of sustainable agriculture. This involvement has history and hopefully continues to increase into the future. For example, back in 2008 at the University of Minnesota Morris, there was a student-led project which saw them create and manage an organic garden for years to come. This project utilized and acknowledged the experience of the Native Americans who had grown there for longer, and the results was a healthier and more diverse garden. Utilizing historical knowledge like this can be a crucial step forward for sustainability and support. One major restriction and concern which arises from many proposed sustainability practices is the resulting yield and commercial effects that they have. As far as we have seen, there's no real way for these sustainable farms to meet the same production rates as the large commercial ones. While this may be a difficult factor to change or handle, another option is instead changing the perspective that we see that factor through. In a research article, Professor Andrew Flax discusses the theory of degrowth, basically meaning that farms and agriculture could meet sustainability goals if their area of concern was reduced, and smaller farms would be able to focus on meeting the needs of their communities instead of large farms trying to produce for such huge areas. This is an interesting theory, and one that I suggest that you learn more about whether you agree or disagree with it. But in general, it goes to show that there are paths forward into the future for us, which not only involve integrating new practices into agricultural systems, but also potentially changing those systems themselves. As you have hopefully seen throughout our group's research, there may be many alternative methods or changes to large-scale agriculture here in the US which could improve sustainability.
While some methods shown here may draw on the knowledge of this land from Native Americans, other methods may draw from indigenous communities all around the globe, which can potentially lead to an increase in epistemology, or what we know, considering the land and how we are in relation to it.
Our main goal here is not to convince or force you to invest in any specific ideology or to make you commit to an alternative method for sustainability, but rather to acknowledge the fact that there are possibilities that we can help our communities and those in our trade to be able to continue this livelihood, and that change really is possible. We hope the research offered is just the start of your journey and that you go out and ask more questions yourself.
We were able to present you with all the information and ideas that can excite you. Thank you very much for your time, and good luck.